Welcome to Mystery Date, where we dive into the weird, the wild, and the downright puzzling. While our podcast is primarily for entertainment with plenty of laughs along the way, we occasionally discuss serious and sensitive topics. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners, so discretion is advised.
There is some confusion over the exact number of bodies that have been found in a common grave in the basement of this barn along Route 6. Police, firemen, and federal alcohol, tobacco, and firearms agents spent the entire day sifting through the grave. The body of a man was found last night, 2 or 3 others this afternoon, and the search goes on at this hour.
Beneath the tall maples of northeast Ohio lies Kirtland, a quiet town with a history that doesn't rest easy. On the surface, it's peaceful. Winding roads, old churches, and wooded hills. But step into the shadows, and the stories change. Locals whisper about pale, misshapen figures that slip between the trees along Wisner Road. They call them the Melon Heads. Strange, swollen-headed creatures born of cruelty, or maybe something far stranger. Some say it's only folklore. In Kirtland, legends have a way of feeling real. Tonight, we follow those shadows. From back roads to haunted cemeteries, from eerie urban legends to a murder so brutal it still echoes decades later. This is Kirtland, Ohio, and once you've heard what hides here, you may never look at a quiet town the same way again.
I'm Christian.
I'm Kate. Welcome to Mystery Date.
It's date night, meaning we get to talk about all things mysterious and weird.
This season is called Into the Woods, and it involves mysteries surrounding woods, forests, and jungles all around our world.
Tonight's mystery is all about the Melon Heads and some other mysteries surrounding Kirtland, Ohio.
Get comfy, grab your favorite drink, and let's start the show. Got our classic Aldi's Peach Bellini today.
Yeah, they get too much free sponsorship.
Look, you can't beat Aldi. It's not my fault.
No, their prices are unbeatable. If you have an Aldi near you or a Trader Joe's, they're kind of the same thing. If you're not shopping there, I don't know how much money you make. No. Tonight's a little kind of a special episode. This is our last official mystery of our season. So I think that's kind of exciting. After this, we're going to have 19 hours, probably more than that because our episodes run a little long. So probably about like 25 hours of content that we've released that's surrounded around mysteries and all mystery date stuff. So I think that's awesome. So not only is this episode special in that regard, but also it's kind of a hometown mystery. I wanted to save this one for last because it hits really close to where we are.
I mean, yeah, we grew up very close to Kirtland. We grew up in Fairport Harbor, which is about 25-minute drive at most from Kirtland. And my very first job was at the farm park in Kirtland. So we're very, very familiar with that town and the surrounding areas. So it is kind of crazy and interesting and a different kind of fun to dive into a mystery that is a little bit more personal feeling, even if we don't necessarily have personal connections to the mysteries themselves. Just being from the town. It's like, hey, that's our neighbors.
Yeah, right? No, it's really cool. I mean, we were going to get some footage of some of these locations, but it was kind of bad timing, and the way they have it laid out now, it's not super easy to get to some of these places, so we just couldn't. But we did drive out there earlier today, so it's close enough to drive to and drive back and still have a full day to record and do whatever we wanted, which is pretty cool.
I mean, yeah, I think we maybe spent an hour or so away from our house.
Yeah.
But yeah, the original Wisner Road that we mentioned in the opening, it's been kind of relayed out, and there was some other side streets that came off of it, and not everything over there exists the same way it once did, but it was still fun to go out there and be like, oh, remember when we used to talk about these mysteries as teenagers? And
it's still beautiful for like the fall weather too, with all the leaves changing. It's absolutely a gorgeous drive and just honestly a gorgeous town. So I don't like with all the mysteries and spooky stuff we're going to be talking about. That's not to say that Kirtland isn't beautiful. It really is. And if you live anywhere near it, check it out because there's just especially in the fall. Like,
oh yeah,
oh
it's
my
gorgeous,
God, it is so
and
beautiful.
they do have some really fun and cute things to check out there too. But let's dive in.
Yes. Real quick, just a few announcements. I'm going to start doing this at the beginning of the show as well, just to be as pestering and annoying as possible. But if you like Mystery Date and you want to support us, please give the show a like, a follow, a subscribe, wherever you're listening to us, however you can support us that way, that's perfect. Or if you want to check out our /merch, you can go there and get all of our special little clothing. I don't have any of it on today, back in the date night attire, but that's a great way to support the show as well. Everything you buy there directly supports us and keeps us going. Just wanted to say that. But now let's get into the mystery. So there's something about Kirtland, Ohio that makes the air feel heavier after dark. It's the kind of place where the trees along the road seem to lean in toward you, where shadows cling a little too long, and where the wind always seems to carry just enough of a whisper to make you turn your head. Most towns have their legends, but Kirtland has its monsters. Along the lonely stretch of Wisner Road, under the cover of rustling leaves and moonlight, people swear they've seen them. Short, pale figures with grotesquely oversized heads lurking just beyond the tree line. They call them the Melon Heads. It's a story that has been told here for decades. One of those local legends that almost everyone has heard of, but no one can quite prove. But before we head down Wisner Road, it's worth taking a look at the town itself, because to understand the Melon Heads, you have to first understand Kirtland. So Kirtland sits in the wooded hills of Lake County, northeast Ohio. It's not a big city, and it's not exactly a suburb either. The roads here wind through thick stands of maple, oak, and pine, past creeks and hollows that seem to swallow sound. In summer, the air is heavy and green, and in winter, snow piles deep along the roads and muffles everything. The town was founded in 1811, but for a brief, intense stretch of the 1830s, it was the center of something much larger. Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon faith, declared Kirtland to be the location of Zion. He oversaw the construction of the Kirtland Temple, the first temple in the Latter-day Saint movement, and for a few years, this quiet Ohio community became the headquarters of a pretty quickly growing religion. But the dream of Zion unraveled. Financial scandals, bitter leadership disputes, and pressure from hostile outsiders splintered the community. And by the late 1830s, most of the faithful had packed up and moved west, leaving behind a town with a magnificent temple and a fractured history. Over the decades, Kirtland's identity has been shaped by the same blend of ambition and disappointment. Other religious movements have called it home, and strange tragedies have played out here. And somewhere along the way, the town picked up a taste for eerie folklore. It's the kind of place where stories grow in the shadows, nurtured by dense woods, quiet roads, and a sense that the past never quite let go. So I don't know if you knew all that about Kirtland. I don't know how much you knew about the town going into it.
I did know that it was the place of the first big Latter-day Saints Mormon movement and that original temple. I did know that. And I mean, I've driven past that temple hundreds of times probably.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we just drove past it today,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I take routes for my day job all the time that have me going up that street. So I definitely knew that, and I knew about the Melon Head lore, and I knew that there had been a set of murders there. But yeah, I don't know that I knew that the Mormon movement kind of died out here so quickly, and everybody kind of moved west from here.
Yeah, I believe they kind of went to Utah and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm not too sure,
but I know that these days the majority, I mean, you can find different religions everywhere you go if you just ask around enough, but I do know that a vast amount of Mormons today live in more of the central and west side of the U.S. And yeah, places like Utah are very big Mormon populations, so that makes sense. But I don't know, in my mind it happened more gradually than nope, in the 1810s it started, and by 1830 they were let's get out.
I mean, yeah, it was a very quick.
So that is kind of interesting.
I mean, with I'm not putting anything on the actual religion, but with all the scandals and kind of things that happened during that time, you can see why it quickly deteriorated. It was just the people in control, not necessarily, again, the religion, but the people in control were not the most pure-hearted. So now that we know a little bit about Kirtland, let's move on to the legend itself, the legend of the Melon Heads. Against this backdrop of Kirtland, Ohio, the Melon Head legend took root. Ask a half dozen locals and you'll get a half dozen versions of the story, each with its own twist, its own shadowy details, and its own warning about where not to go after dark. In the broadest strokes, the legend tells of children afflicted with hydrocephalus, a real condition in which fluid builds up inside the skull, causing the head to swell. These children, as the story goes, were either taken in or taken captive by a man known only as Dr. Crow. Nice and ominous.
Fun.
Yeah, we're getting off to a good start. Always good to have an evil doctor.
Yeah, I'm picturing the plague doctor mask. Dr. Crow, I mean, come on.
Big lightning bolt striking behind him.
Right,
As he's...
creating Frankenstein Melonhead children monsters out of poor orphans with disabilities. Off to a great start to the races, folks.
I mean, it's a great story so far. That's where the versions split, though. Some cast Crow as a compassionate recluse who gave shelter to orphans abandoned because of their condition. And in these tellings, he was eccentric, maybe even strange, but ultimately trying to shield his charges from the cruelty of the outside world. Other versions strip away the kindness entirely. In those, Crow was a madman, or at least a scientist gone wrong, who experimented on the children in his care, and he's said to have injected extra fluid into their skulls, not to heal them, but to watch their heads grow grotesquely large. It's in the darker versions that the ending turns violent. One night, the children rebelled. They killed Crow and set fire to his home, and vanished into the surrounding woods. From that day forward, the Melonheads were said to roam the forests around Wisner Road, feeding on small animals and sometimes unlucky travelers. Over the years, stories have piled up. A hiker swore he heard quick footsteps behind him, then turned to see a child-sized figure with a huge head dart between the trees. A driver said something pale was standing at the edge of the road, not an animal, not a person, but something in between, and it watched as they passed. Historians have searched for really any trace of Dr. Crow, though, and there's really been no death records, property deeds, old news clippings, and nothing substantial has been found. But that absence hasn't slowed the legend down. The unknown is a fertile ground for the imagination, and in Kirtland, the Melonheads have had decades to grow their roots.
Maybe Dr. Crow was just an alias.
I do want to say, I mean, yeah, it very well could be.
It's not his real name.
Yeah,
that's his evil supervillain.
Yeah, that's
name.
his supervillain. I do want to say there's an article, and I think it's posted by like some Geauga local newspaper or whatever, and I don't know how true or what the validity of it is, but in that article they interview someone who says that her like great grandpa was Dr. Crow, and it wasn't that he was an evil guy, and it wasn't even anything about Melon Heads. It's just his name was attached to the legend because he owned like a cabin that his family would go out to, and when they came out, all the kids would know him as just like a nice guy that would allow them to get candy, play on the property, and like, you know, just
yeah, he was just
wholesome
kind of
stuff.
like a neighborhood man who owned this summer house cabin. And the kids would come play on the property, and they were like, "Oh, he doesn't care."
Yeah. So I mean, if that's true, that does kind of suck. That dude's just been roped into it because he happened
like wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. That it's like this legend started up on the street where you happened to own a cabin, and you're a doctor, and you were nice to those kids. So
just the shoe fits. Yeah, that kind of
they
sucks.
were like, "Oh, those kids must have been your experiments." Like it's just they jumped the gun so quick on those rumors.
Yeah. So if that's the case with all of this, I do feel unfortunate that person had been roped into it. But overall, I mean, as someone who's lived in this area, I wanted to cover this topic because, again, it's close to home. It's a cool little local mystery, but this one's a little hard for me to grip onto.
I was going to say, this one just almost, it's as if there's no concrete lore. Just somebody made up a story one day and it caught, and then people gave their own twist to it here and there. And some of them tell it like a fairy tale, and some of them tell it like a Brothers Grimm tale. And
Now, it's not to say that there's nothing in the woods of Kirtland. It is a very densely wooded area.
oh yeah, and I have a fun personal Melon Head story I'm gonna tell at some point.
Oh, heck yeah. Let's jump into some theories.
Okay.
So some theories surrounded the Melon Heads. There's a few of them. One of the most popular theories is, well, it's just medical history, essentially. This theory ties the Melon Heads to real medical history, and like we said, hydrocephalus is a documented condition, and in earlier centuries, children born with it were often misunderstood, mistreated, or hidden away. In rural areas like Kirtland, it's not impossible that families with little access to medical care might have lived far from the public eye. Over time, sightings of someone with an enlarged skull, whether a child or an adult, could have led into the idea of a hidden, deformed population living in the woods. And that's kind of sad, again.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of the Salem Witch Trials episode where you have this small group, this like almost remote town that it's not that they're not connected to other societies, but it's not like the thriving city. And it's not a metropolis. They don't have new ideas and different debates happening every day. Everybody here believes in the same stuff and sees life the same way. And when that stays a small town for too long, like, I don't know how many people have heard of the term small town syndrome. And I know that term is taken in different contexts. Some people are like, that's not a real syndrome. And I don't know that. It's more of like a catchphrase.
Like ideology, or like a something to do with like psychology. I don't know what the word would be, but it is it is kind of.
It's more of like a pop psychology phrase than a clinical psychology
phrase. But it
phrase.
exists.
But it is a thing. Like, you can look at the world and see it. And it does kind of remind me of that, where like you have this group of people that they just don't know any better. They haven't reached the point of science or medicine yet, or have that kind of news in front of them to be aware of it yet. So when they see something like that, their first mind is a witch, abomination, a monster. Like,
something to add on to that too. And again, we don't like to talk about religion or politics on this show because it's not what the show is about, and we don't want to really put anyone down. That's not why we're here. But some religions reject certain technologies and certain medical sciences. And at the time, if you have this radical new religion growing, whether it was the Church of the Latter-day Saints, even in formal practice religions, you have those who take the practice sometimes too far in any organization, not even religion. Maybe these people rejected any sort of mainstream science or medical help and secluded themselves.
And trusted nature or God or what have you to right the path in whatever way. Yeah, I mean, it is sad to think about, but it's also, it really makes sense because, I mean, there's such a debate these days about how autism didn't used to be around. And it's like, well, we can look at this as kind of a similar case study where it's not that it wasn't always around, it's that we have the proper, or better, I guess I should say, who knows what proper is, we could always improve, but we have better technology and know-how and medical studies and sciences and just we've made improvements in those fields to be able to diagnose and treat better than we could before. In the past, you had somebody with a mental illness, they just got put to death or put in an asylum and locked away and forgotten about and treated terribly and abused. Like, that was how we used to deal with things like that as society at large.
Yeah.
So it really is not that far-fetched to say, okay, maybe something happened in genetics in this town that it started to become less rare, a little more normal for children to be born with this particular disorder or disease. I don't know what the proper term is for hydrocephalus, but, you know, they're born with this condition, and maybe it was starting to become more normal. And back then, it was like, okay, well, just get rid of them.
I mean,
Put them out in the woods. Survival of the fittest, let the weak be taken back by nature, and we'll try again, and maybe God will give us a healthy child. Like, there's a lot of different thought processes that people back then may have gone through, and at the time, it made perfect sense in that society.
I mean, look at our Aokigahara forest video. In there, while that practice is debated if it was truly a thing they did or not, if it did happen, their practice of sending the elderly and the sick into the woods to fend for themselves.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we can't afford to take care of
Or
you.
know
We don't
how
know
to.
how to take care of you. We don't know that you can be taken care of, or if you're simply dying slowly anyway, we're just gonna put you out back. Like, it sounds so crass to put it like that.
But I mean,
And in today's society, obviously, if somebody did something like that now, it would be awful. But hundreds of years ago, everything was so vastly different. We didn't know anything
no.
compared to what we know today as humans and as societies and as cultures and as a group.
Exactly. We're not saying it's right, but it
makes
could
sense.
have happened,
It's like,
and it makes
hey,
sense.
that does track with other things in history that we know are factual.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, I think that one's, I can see why it's the most popular. But again, it's just
Yeah.
sad.
Well, and also, not just religious practices as far as like the Mormons may have gone, but up here in Northeast Ohio, we have a lot of different Orthodox type of groups. We have Amish communities, we have Mennonite communities, we have Orthodox Jewish communities, we have old Mormon communities. Like, a lot of these different communities are, like you said, they have certain practices and beliefs that they're like, I'm not going to use that technology, or I'm not going to accept that type of medicine or that type of... So that also makes sense. It's like, hey, maybe there was more Amish in Kirtland back then than there are today. They've moved a little bit more east now, but they're still right there. I mean, so it really does track on that theory for me.
No, and I totally see that, just the rejection of modern science, whether it was right or wrong, however you want to look at that, but that's what could have led to this seclusion of these people.
Yeah, and maybe there was a doctor who tried to help them or potentially made things worse, but...
And that story got construed with this crow guy, and then you're just combining...
This theory seems like the most plausible for where this lore of the story came from. Part of it seems like, okay, like I said earlier, it's like this... A lot of mysteries, and especially cryptids and things, they usually have like a big event or a big moment or some sort of, well, we saw this thing happen, and that's why we now believe this tale or this creature or whatever.
Like the Silver Bridge for Mothman.
Exactly. Or
a lot of
the Bigfoot video that was captured or faked, whatever you want. Who knows?
The Bob Gimlin film.
Yeah. Like, there's often something behind the story to back it up a little. Even if there's no proof, there's something to back up the argument. In the Melon Head story, it really does sound like it's just a story, where it's like, where did you get this from, though? Like, who saw what? Who heard from who? So this theory really does solidify that a little more, where it's like, okay, that's where they got the lore from. I mean, it's taken from twisted real life history, and they kind of turn it into like a fairy tale, cautionary tale type of thing, which is also something humans have been doing forever.
Oh yeah, and I will say,
Ring Around the Rosie is about the Black Plague, so...
Yeah, not the best content.
Who knows? Maybe the Melon Head story was some sort of cautionary tale that they made about this health condition that they didn't know was a health condition at the time. They thought it was a curse or something, you know? Like, I don't know. That seems very legit to me.
That's why I wanted to get it out first. Again, I think there's a reason that's the most popular, is it just kind of fits into the most practical. Because like you said, there's no catalyst for this one. It just happened. It just is a story that was kind of fabricated, and here we are. So, moving on from that one, we're going to go on to what one of the stories kind of claims, and that's escaped patients. So this version borrows from the same playbook as countless other urban legends. The theory claims that the Melon Heads were once residents of an asylum somewhere in Ohio, possibly in nearby Cleveland or Chardon.
There used to be one on Fairport Nursery Road in Fairport, Painesville area, which is, again, about 25 minutes from
Yeah, so they
Kirtland.
traveled a bit. And there's not... You got to travel through Painesville, like, city. So, like, maybe you can find a way around. You'd have to take a long way around to not travel through some urban environments where there's not much.
Again, it was the early 1800s,
No, you're right,
middle
you're right.
1800s. Things have not always been so
You're right.
urban.
I'm just imagining
They used to
like
be a lot more rural around here.
I'm just imagining like a little gaggle of Melon Head children,
Escaped
like in the
asylum
middle
Melon
of the
Head
night.
patients just running through Painesville City at night. Today's sheriff is sitting there like, the fuck?
Yeah, there's a lot of other small towns. I know if you're not from Ohio, you're like, what the hell are these places you're talking about? There's a lot of like Ohio upward in this northeast area. There's a lot of blend between like the stretch between rural and city is very thin. You can turn a street, see a farm, then
Turn the next street and see a skyscraper.
yeah, it goes back and forth. So
yeah, Northeast Ohio is kind of crazy where we're like, we have mountains, we have rivers, we have valleys, we have meadows, we have farms, we have cities, we have suburbs. Like and again, like Christian said, you can turn a corner and it happens that fast.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's just funny to me to picture these Melon Heads like creeping through a very suburban neighborhood, like I don't know, making some weird like.
it'd be even funnier if they did break out of an asylum in downtown Cleveland and not the one in rural
Just
Painesville
go all the way
Township.
out to the Kirtland.
And they're just hiking through downtown with the skyscrapers.
Oh my god. So I'm gonna hope that it happened in Chardon because that makes a lot more sense to me. So they escaped an asylum in Chardon, Ohio, which is sort of nearby.
Yeah,
And-
Chardon or Painesville Township
Yeah.
perhaps, but probably not Cleveland.
And they escaped into the surrounding countryside, which would lead them pretty much right to Kirtland. With no resources and nowhere to go, they supposedly turned feral and began living off the land. And occasionally they would cross paths with unlucky hikers or motorists. The problem is with this theory is there is no record of a mental institution near Kirtland that fits this story. Like we said, there was one kind of in Fairport, which is another small port town about 20 minutes away.
Yeah, and that's by car.
It's
so
by car in the freeway.
to walk would take much longer than that, especially if they didn't have just clear paths and roads back then like we have now.
Yeah. But that hasn't stopped this theory from spreading and kind of being one of the main, like, when it comes to the conspiratorial side of these theories, this is the one that most people point to. If you're not going to say medical or whatever, and that,
Yeah, if it wasn't simply a misunderstanding about medical conditions that got twisted into a fairy tale of lore later, then it had to have been the escaped asylum
yes,
patients
which for the
that
story,
turned crazy and feral and into humanoid monsters.
that's a sick story.
That does sound like your classic, like, fantastical monster.
I was about to say, but it
origin
is like
story.
every urban legend from like the 80s, which is, I'm pretty sure when this tale really started becoming,
To get traction.
at least in the conspiratorial side. Maybe this hydrocephalus was kind of a more accepted thing, and then it grew. Like you never know how stories change, but what we know is today was really popularized in the 70s, 80s, and through on.
Yeah,
when
they were
teenagers
trying to
started
make
getting
it-
cars, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
They were like, all right, let's create a Swamp Thing
Yes,
comic for
yes.
these children of Kirtland.
So another theory is that they were Dr. Crow's experiments. So this one ties in Dr. Crow specifically. The first one was just kind of like a mental asylum and they all escaped. Dr. Crow doesn't exist in that first one. That was just them escaping from a mental asylum and now they live out in the woods of Kirtland.
Yes, slowly going mad.
Yes. Because again, when you add Dr. Crow to this story, you're adding a hat on a hat. We already have a theory that's found in not really too much of a claim. And
Yeah.
then you're like, and there was also this doctor.
Yeah, we already don't know if Melon Heads exist, so why don't we also have to prove the existence of this guy? Because we don't know if he existed either.
Dr. Crow's experiments, this theory says that a more sinister theory keeps Dr. Crow at the center, but casts him as something more plausible than a total fabrication that we got. In this telling, Crow was a rural caretaker or backwoods doctor who took in unwanted children. What? You don't like backwoods doctor?
Backwoods doctor just sounded really funny.
That's my rap name.
That was my nickname in high school.
Yeah. So this backwood doctor would take in unwanted children and experimented on them in small and kind of cruel ways. The Melon Heads are either the descendants of those children or the same children themselves, somehow surviving for decades in the Kirtland woods. Now, again, there's no evidence for this, but it's just believable enough to unsettle people. You're kind of closing the bow on it. When you add Dr. Crow, even though it is a head on a hat or whatever, it does kind of bring it full circle. Like, it's almost like if you add more, it becomes more believable or whatever. But
yeah, they're not just children with a medical condition that were misunderstood and maybe cast out. They were also then taken back in by a slightly deranged man who maybe thought he had good intentions but was really not the best person. And, you know, maybe he thought he was experimenting on them, searching for some sort of cure or some sort of enhancement possibility. And instead he was making things worse or simply just torturing and hurting them and not getting anywhere. But that does almost seem more believable that, like, oh, okay, but there was a doctor who took them in and maybe made things worse, maybe helped them survive for a period of time before they were let into the woods. It does make more sense than simply, oh, some kids with health conditions were let loose into the woods and then they just grew up there and became feral. Like, having a doctor of like, oh, well, a doctor shot them up with drugs for a while first trying to cure them, and then it backfired and they went even more crazy and feral from the experiments, so he let them loose in the woods. It's like, okay, that does have a nicer, tidier look to it.
For sure. And like
does
I said,
make
it puts
more
a bow
sense.
on it.
Yeah, it would make more sense as to how they ended up becoming more like monsters and creepy things, and not just people with a slight
head deformation.
Yeah, deformation or malformation. I don't know what the.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
I don't know.
You're the English major.
English is kind of a tricky language, babe. It's full of contradictions and rules that are constantly broken for fun. I before E, except after C, and if it sounds like way, and also the word weird, and a bunch of other random exceptions that make no sense. Like, why did you even come up with the I before E phrase? That's dumb. It doesn't apply.
That's our weekly tangent on the English language. Sorry, bi-weekly.
But perhaps soon we'll be weekly.
Yeah, we'll see. That's a little teaser. So our next theory is going to be talking about the classic cryptids or aliens. Some locals think that the Melon Heads aren't human at all, but something closer to cryptids or even extraterrestrials. Their odd proportions and supposed nocturnal habits have led to a few theorists linking them to UFO sightings throughout Ohio, especially during the wave of reports in the 1970s. In these versions, Dr. Crow wasn't a doctor at all, but a government agent, or researcher studying the creatures after they were recovered from a crash.
My name is Cobra Bubbles. You don't look like a social worker.
Oh, God. Like Lilo and Stitch, this is essentially just pure science fiction, though. There are documented UFO sightings throughout Ohio, but that's about the only link you could have to the Melon Heads. And to be honest, when I searched, I am sure someone's grandpa said in the 1970s they saw a UFO in Kirtland, Ohio, but nothing was substantially documented, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
they didn't
this
make
one-
it into the newspaper with it.
Yeah. So this one's not...
I will say I didn't even think about this until you brought it up right now. And of course I knew we were going to mention cryptids and aliens, because if there's a creepy creature or monster involved, those are always one of the theories.
Oh, yeah.
But it just occurred to me that aliens is actually not that crazy of a theory to believe, because if they're short creatures with very enlarged melon-looking heads, what's the classic alien look? like the OG, when you picture alien, what do you picture?
I know you're a little virgin.
You picture something skinny and tall with a big, round, lemon-shaped head.
Yes, I know you're a little virgin to conspiracy theories because we're dipping your toe into it right now. Those are what would be referred to as the Greys. Like Paul, he is a Grey.
From the movie Paul.
Those are one of... When you get into conspiracy theories...
Or like E.T., he's totally got a
he would be a
melon
Grey,
head.
essentially. But when you get into the deeper conspiratorial spheres on the internet, you'll find out that a lot of people believe, I'm not going to dive into it too much because that's not what this episode's about, but that there are several alien species who have visited Earth and that they have documented themselves as certain species, and the Greys are one of them.
Oh, yeah.
And it's said that they are humans from the future who have taken out their like emotional sides of their brains. And that's why they like shrunk and their heads get so big.
Well, that seems stupid. Emotions are necessary. But anyway,
Well, they turned into monsters. I think that's the moral of the story is that you shouldn't do that.
But, and I mean, at the end of the day, whether we get into belief of aliens or not, let's say for the sake of argument that yes, aliens are real. Everyone knows it. There's bound to be more than one type, and like more, they're gonna look different. Not every human looks the same. We come in different shapes and sizes and colors and outfits and shit, like different eye shapes. Like we have all sorts of different features. So like obviously not every alien in the world in the billion universes out there is gonna look the same. But like you get what I'm saying.
Well, no,
initial, like when you think of alien, and when UFOs first were like in the news everywhere and becoming sensationalized, like every alien looked like a melon head.
Well, that's why I was bringing up the Greys, is because anyone listening to this that knows what you're talking about is going to be like, yeah, that's the Greys, and there's a reason for it.
That's why they look like melon heads.
Well, it's because in the 1950s is said to where we have contacted them, and that's why there's the UFO boom, like big boom of the 1950s. And so on with Roswell and all those other places. There was even one in Ohio down near Cincinnati that's a pretty famous one. But a lot of these cases, people believe that that's when the Greys contacted the human race via time travel, via whatever, through space, however travel works, like whatever. And they said, okay, we'll give you some of our technology and you'll let us abduct you and do some experiments on some of your people so that we can figure out a way to get our genetic code back to what it's supposed to be.
Oh. Okay.
And the United States government was like, yeah, sure. So that's where you started getting alien abductions, and that's why we started
take some random lower class people from their farms or apartments.
And that's why we started getting internet, better combustible engines, radioactive anything, nuclear power, cell phones.
Planes could suddenly carry 10 billion times as much and as far and as fast. And
So, I mean, now again, I'm not trying to tell you to believe in it or even that I believe in it, but it is interesting.
It is an interesting take on why we had such a technological boom since the 50s.
Yeah. It just fits in there. That. So, I mean, if that's the case, then they could be Greys running around Kirtland.
Yeah. The Melon Heads and the Greys aren't possibly one and the same.
One and the same. So that's interesting.
They're the ones that got left behind in place of the new abductees.
Yeah, I don't think it was a take one, leave one type situation.
They only have so much room on their ships.
Hey, Greg, you got to go wait down there at the farm with that old lady.
Go try to learn how the new humans are living their life so that we can come assimilate back in once we've fixed our genetics.
You know some freaky shit would be going on off the books. Greg being sent down to that farmhouse, you don't think he's going to get into some weird-ass shit?
Why do you think they made the movie, Paul?
Oh, my God. So the last theory we have here is kind of what we've been talking about, and that this is all just pure folklore. The simplest explanation is that the Melonheads are nothing more than a campfire story. A bit of local color invented to scare teenagers, keep kids from trespassing, or give bored drivers a reason to cruise Wisner Road on a Friday night. Every rustle in the underbrush, every flash of movement in the headlights gets folded into the legend until it feels real. even if it started as nothing more than a dare. And what makes the legend endure isn't which theory is true, but it's that no one can ever quite rule any of them out. So, in a place like Kirtland, where the woods are deep and the nights are quiet and the history already leans towards the strange, it's easy to believe that somewhere just out of sight, the Melonheads might be watching.
I will say, as much as this story is completely lacking in evidence,
It's a good story.
very hard to shut down. And they all are like, no, that one would make sense, though, because if you look at history, that was there and that was real.
And I mean, you can't ever rule out aliens, so...
Yeah, of course not. It's always a possibility.
Technically it is.
Yeah. Maybe we're aliens. And this whole podcast is simply a way to telepathically, thank you. This whole podcast is a way to telepathically probe your minds.
Do you think that if we were hyper-intelligent alien species that could mimic humans and travel the galaxy and
Then I would
fuck up the
struggle
word
with the
telepathy?
word telepathically so much. I think it's funny when I mess up words and then people are like, don't you have an MFA in writing and English? And I'm like, yeah, and?
I think being an intergalactic traveler trumps the masters. So the
I don't know
fact,
what the intergalactic education systems are like.
I mean, if they can make it here and integrate as good as we have, they've got to be pretty advanced. We have 19 hours plug of content on our website, on YouTube, on Spotify. You can find us anywhere.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yep, like, share, and subscribe. Smack that button.
Thanks for checking in, fam.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I'm just making fun of those streamers. What's up, fam? Click that like button. Smash it.
Fuck, what was I talking about? Don't drink while you're doing a podcast, folks.
Oh my
I
God.
know I
We're
had
not
one glass of
aliens.
wine. Oh, that's where it was.
Let's
We're
leave it at
aliens.
that.
No, yes. We have thank you. We have 19 hours of content available, and you think that if we didn't have the English language down, people wouldn't have caught on already?
They would at least be calling us AI.
Yeah, they'd be like, something's not right. This kid keeps saying bliblob.
They'd be like, this bitch is a bot. I'm going to start doing that. Just like once per sentence, I'm going to throw in a random glib glob and then just keep going.
Then people are going to question us. All right, tell us your Melon Head story before we move on to some other spooky things about Kirtland.
All right, so rewind to about, 13 years ago? 12 years ago, maybe? I was working at my first job at the Cleveland or Lake County, the Lake Metro Parks Farm Park. And awesome place, by the way. Great place for field trips and families. But I was working there in the dairy with the cows, and we got a lot of the Amish and the Orthodox Jewish people would come out, and lots of kids, school groups, things like that. The one day we had a group of Amish or Orthodox Jewish, I'm not sure which, I do apologize. I cannot tell the difference, and I am sorry.
I think we'll forgive you.
But honestly, I don't mean to offend people, but I really just, they're similar at times.
It's not offensive if you're just straight up ignorant to what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, it was
I just don't
it was
know.
definitely one of those two. But anyway, this group comes up and they start asking me some weird questions about the cows. And they're like, first, they thought the cows were animatronics. They're like, those aren't real cows, right? They're just like for display for the show. I'm like, no, they're real cows. Like, that was really a cow that I just milked up there for you guys. They thought they were fake. So then they were blown away by the fact that we had real cows. And they're like, and you guys just keep them here all the time? We're like, they go outside in their pasture at night and they come in here during the day for the displays and the presentations and whatnot. But like, they spend a lot of time in their pasture. And yeah, they live here at the farm park. And the lady was so concerned. She's like, I can't believe you let these cows roam outside at night. Like, do you have a night crew who works here? Like, are they guarded? And we're like, no. Like, they're fine. I mean, there's fences, they have shelter, they have food, like, they have everything they need in case of, like, bad weather or whatever. And they are large animals. Like, they're used to living outside. They can handle the winter, you know. Don't worry. Like, we take good care of our animals here. She's like, I just feel like you should be more worried. Aren't you guys worried about people taking the cows? What if there's kidnappers? I'm like, kidnappers? I'm picturing this woman is concerned about like a gaggle of teenagers in a minivan trying to steal a cow as a prank to get in their high school or something. And I'm like, okay, like, lady, I don't know if you're trying to punk me right now and you're like being funny, but like she's Amish. So I'm like, I don't think that Amish people are known for like fucking with you like that. I'm like, no, like they're good. Nobody ever tries to harm them or take them or anything. She's like, not even the Melon Heads. Just dead fucking serious. Fear in her eyes. And I'm like trying to keep it together. I'm like trying to be professional. I'm at work and I'm like supposed to be this Disney World type like cow friendly teacher employee. And I'm like, fucking Melon Heads? Like, what did you just say to me? Like, I was just like, literally, are you for real, lady? I didn't know what to say to her. I think I just probably said something like, no, they're safe. Like, you don't gotta worry. I'm gonna go help over here, and like got away from her. But I will never forget that because she was so dead serious.
Do you think there's someone out there that is disguising themselves as Melon Heads?
Steal cattle from the Amish? That's literally, it has, like I said, it's been about 12 or 13 years since this incident happened. And I have not only not forgot, but I think about it kind of all the time. Like, I will randomly think about this exchange with this woman and just be like, so do you think that cattle going missing is a common problem for the Amish? Do you think that they've seen the Melon Heads? Do you think they're the ones with the proof and that's the reason we all haven't seen the proof because the Amish isn't sharing it on Facebook? Like, I randomly think of this exchange all the time, and I'm like, that lady was so serious about the Melon Heads stealing the cows. Like,
she was worried.
I will never forget. And that was one of, I mean, I had heard of Melon Heads, but I hadn't really heard of Melon Heads. All I knew was that it's like, oh, it's a local legend that there's like creepy people monsters out there called Melon Heads and they live in the woods. To me, it was like, oh, that's the campfire story that our older brothers tell to scare us, right? But that incident was the first time in my life that I was like, oh my God, maybe there's something to this. Like, the Amish lady believed it, tooth and nail. She was fearful for our cows. And I'm like, she's not rabbit holing on Reddit conspiracy theories. Like, she's Amish. She's spending her days like knitting and working on her own farm and stuff. Like, there's no way she's spending exorbitant amounts of time creating conspiracy theories. She has to have some sort of reason to feel this way about Melon Head.
I stand by it. Someone's out there just dressing as Melon Heads. I mean, they're not going to call the cops if they think it's some sort of cryptid.
And again, they're Amish. Do the Amish people call the cops if they...
I'd imagine it's... Yeah, they don't have their own police force or just deal with it themselves.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't know what their rules
I can't imagine that it's just that low.
I don't know. They get certain exemptions from other state and local laws, so for all I know, that means it's because they have their own.
If an Amish person gets pulled over for like drinking and driving their buggy, I don't think the cops like, all right, take them to your own little court of judgment and figure out what happens to them.
They lock them in one of those little like wooden head and arm cuffs.
I think the police do get involved.
I thought the Amish were truly just living back in time.
No, officer. We'll take it from here.
He shall be drawn and quartered in the morning.
Why are they British?
I don't know. Because in the past, everyone was British. Their empire ruled over all.
Oh my God. So now we're going to move on from the Melon Heads. And like I promised before, just because that's a little bit of a short thing, there's some other spooky stuff I want to talk about Kirtland. This isn't too long, but it's just, the town has some interesting things going on that I feel like deserve to be talked about. So while the Melon Heads might be the most famous of Kirtland's eerie tales, they're far from the only ones. A short drive from Wisner Road, there's a bridge that locals call Crybaby Bridge. The story is simple. turn off your headlights while crossing at night, and you'll hear the sound of a baby crying from somewhere below. Now, crybaby bridges are pretty famous throughout America and honestly the whole world. And like a lot of those ones, no one can point to a definitive tragedy that would explain this urban legend.
And there's more to it. Like, the version of that legend I heard was not only if you turn your headlights off and stop on the middle of the bridge will you hear a baby crying, but if you flash your headlights 3 times and scream, "I have your baby," a witch will appear in front of you when you turn the headlights back on.
I mean,
Because
that's
the
added stuff, yeah.
That's the shit we used to do as teenagers. We would drive out there to Crybaby Bridge. We would sit there, flash the headlights, and yell out the window, "I have your baby!" And then just like sit there and wait and see if we saw
Oh
any
yeah,
shadows
that shit
or
was
anything.
scary, dude.
It's so dark out there. But that's where we tried to go today, was the Crybaby Bridge, and that's the road that is no longer there. They took it down and rerouted Wisner a little bit, so it doesn't exist anymore, but you can still see the creek that it went over in the original road that went to it.
So the tale of Crybaby Bridge is often told alongside other Melon Head stories as if the two hauntings were somehow connected. A reminder that in Kirtland, one strange thing is never far away from another. And that brings us to the Myrtle Hill Cemetery, where it's home to the Witch's Ball, a large granite sphere that supposedly marks the grave of a witch named Stoskopf. According to local lore, she was buried upside down to keep her spirit from escaping. But if you touch the stone at night and it feels warm, it's supposed to mean that she's now free. The tale has been fueled by the real-life case of Martha Wise, the poison widow of Hardscrabble, who murdered family members with arsenic in the 1920s. Yeah. And while Wise isn't actually buried in Myrtle Hill, she's buried in Liverpool Township, her infamy has mingled with the cemetery's ghostly reputation, making it a magnet for late-night trespassers. And then there's a story that isn't legend at all. One that's as real and as dark as it gets. In April 1989, Kirtland became the center of national attention when police uncovered the bodies of Dennis and Cheryl Avery and their 3 young daughters buried in a pit in a barn on the outskirts of town. They had been shot to death and buried under layers of dirt and lime. The killer turned out to be Jeffrey Lundgren, a self-proclaimed prophet and former member of the recognized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Lundgren had gathered a small group of followers, twisting scripture through what he called chiastic interpretation to justify his control. He decided the Avery family had become a threat to his authority, and on April 17th, he lured them onto his property under the guise of a camping trip, and one by one they were led into the barn, where gunshots, masked by the roar of a chainsaw, ended their lives. The case remains the worst mass murder case in Lake County history. Lundgren was convicted and sentenced to death. He was executed in 2006. Several of his followers were also convicted, with sentences ranging from decades in prison to life without parole. This was no ghost story and no piece of folklore. It was a grim reminder that sometimes the horrors in Kirtland don't come from the woods, but they come from people. There's a lot you can look into that. That's a whole case on its own.
I had heard of the Lundgren Murders, and I think I even knew the details of how they'd been lured into the barn and found in the pit. I did not know that this guy was a self-proclaimed prophet, cult master,
Yep.
former Mormon.
Yeah.
It's
crazy, right?
I hate to say that makes sense.
For extremists, that makes sense.
I was going to say,
comes to
there's
that.
a lot of cults and extreme people out there who started with Mormons,
I mean, that's just a
Latter-day
fact,
Saints.
yes.
So it is one of those scenarios where it's like, oh, okay.
It's alarming, and that whole story still shakes the town today. I mean, I was trying, maybe it's just easier, and I was just having a mind blank or whatever, but I was trying to find the address where this happened. You can't really find much about that. There's not too much really talked about in Kirtland in general about this. I don't know if there's really even a memorial or anything like that. It's kind of just forgotten about in this small town. Really a shadow that exists behind it.
I almost feel like it's not forgotten about. It's more like, let's not talk about this. This was a dark time.
Yes,
This was
you're
a
right.
bad moment. We don't want people to think of us this way. We don't want our image to be this. We don't want our kids to feel this in the town. I think it's more of like, let's keep this hush hush than, oh, it's like it never happened. Which, say what you will, if one is better than the other, sometimes we need to look at the dark shit that has happened in the past and not just shield everybody's eyes and pretend it never happened.
But I mean, I get it from a point of
But
feeling.
I was
it
going
was
to
in the
say,
90s
it is,
or 1989 is not that long ago.
Not that long ago. So it does make sense if people are like, hey, maybe let's not talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
We're still sad. We're still scared. Like, it's, like you said, it's the healing process that needed to happen. And maybe now it'll start being talked about more because it's been a few decades, but it was still so fresh.
So that's pretty much it. That's a lot of the spooky stuff that's going on in Kirtland in our own backyard. And Kirtland wears its history and legends like a second skin. From the shadowed edges of Wisner Road to the silent stones of the Myrtle Hill Cemetery. From the cries that may or may not come from under a bridge to the chilling reality of the Lundgren Murders. This small Ohio town is layered in stories that blur the line between truth and myth. The Melon Heads might just be folklore, a tale told to teenagers daring each other to walk the road at night, but the other stories? The ones with names and dates and police reports show that darkness here doesn't always hide in the trees. Sometimes it lives right in the heart of town. And whether you believe in monsters or not, Kirtland has a way of making you glance over your shoulder when the night grows too quiet. So, do you believe in Melon Heads?
Like I said, I want to say no, but some of the theories about them really do kind of track, where it's like, hey, let's maybe instead of calling them Melon Heads, let's call them people with medical conditions and malformations and deformities, and we don't recognize, we don't know. That seems pretty possible if you put it that way. And again, that lady who was questioning me about the cows,
You're like, I have a first-hand account.
I'm like, I'm just telling you guys, obviously, I'm not a lie detector. I don't always know if somebody's telling the truth or not. And I was young back then. I was a teenager still. I was like 16 or 17 working this job. But I am an actor. I'm a writer. I like to think I have good intuition about people. A lot of my first instincts about people have ended up being correct. I really don't think this lady was lying. Like, whether she had proof or not, who knows, but she in her core fully believed that our cows were in danger from Melon Heads.
Yeah. And that's scary. When you see someone confront that, like, truth in themselves.
I'm like, she was dead serious. She was scared. And I had to be like, it's okay. Like, no, I promise you our cows are safe. Anyway, I'm going to get back to work. Like, thinking, like, is this lady okay? Does somebody need to help her? She's concerned about some wacky stuff. But I have never forgot it because I'm like, there's a reason that she believed it so much. There's a reason that she was concerned our cows were going to go missing via the Melon Heads activity.
I think...
So I'm like, I don't know. Like, maybe.
I think it's a big game of misunderstood telephone. I think you have a lot of fractured stories in this small rural town where not much is happening. The kids don't have much to get up to. Like you said, or like we said earlier, there's a lot of land that's private. You don't want people trespassing on. It just naturally, when you have all these horrible acts like the Lundgren Murders, you have this witch's ball in Myrtle Hill, the town itself just lends itself to this kind of spooky vibe once the sun sets and the fog comes out over these windy trees. I think it's all just the perfect area for one of these stories to grow naturally. Like, of course it would.
It's like fertilized ground
Yes.
to plant a story like this in.
Yes.
If you try to come up with a story like this in New York City, it's not going to gain traction.
No. People
But
would
in
be
a
like, what the
place-
hell?
Yeah, but in a place like Kirtland, Ohio, and the Kirtland Hills, it's like, okay, maybe it could happen here.
Do I think Melonheads are roaming the woods of Kirtland today? No. Do I think there could have been a medical condition that people didn't know or misunderstood and were maybe ostracized from a community and maybe forgotten about? Then people saw them later, got confused. Then you also have witches apparently at one point. You have a Crybaby bridge that teens are going to and making up all these myths. Then the Lundgren murders happen in the 80s. All of this is just like back-to-back urban legends growing on each other to where you have now the Melon Heads of Kirtland, Ohio that roam out there and eat hikers and small animals, and you'll see them in the dark of night with their little reflective eyes. Like,
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think that's what I think. Like, no, I don't believe in a monstrous melon head cult or coven in the woods just roaming and eating people or cattle. But do I believe there may have once been some truth to where that lore came from? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, bud.
And that Amish lady knew it too.
And now she's Canadian, eh? I'm sorry, throw a Canadian listen. If anyone from Canada listens to this, I'm sorry.
Look, I just saw it come from away, so I have the Newfoundland accent like all over my brain right now.
Oh my gosh. So that brings us then to date night debrief. And I think this question will be sort of quick because I want some of these questions to be deep for us to kind of get to know each other, but also kind of surface level enough for the audience to get to know us more. So
Yeah.
this one's a surface level question.
Or to use with each other. Maybe you're on a first date and you want to listen and do a date night debrief. But it's a first date. You're not ready to talk about like deep intimacy,
Yes.
vulnerability, fears and stuff. You're like, nah, let's like keep it casual.
Yeah, so this is a very surface level question. So what is your favorite season?
Fall, bitches.
Fall?
It's fall, motherfucker.
I think mine as a kid was...
That's an Eliza Schlesinger reference, by the way.
Shout out. I think mine is fall now, but as a kid, it was definitely winter. I love winter up until like January 15th.
For people who don't live in Ohio, that's going to sound so like randomly specific. But for people in Ohio, you're probably like, yeah, me too. Yeah, I like early winter, but like the dead of winter, that mid-January through the end of March, it's like, when is this gonna end?
That month and a
Can we
half is
stop?
the longest. Like, even thinking about it now, like, oh my God, real winter is only like a month and a half in Ohio. And it feels like it's 7 months of your time. Like, it just...
February is the shortest month and somehow the longest month.
Yeah, every year, man.
January, February, March seem to take the whole year.
But I love... We'll get a little personal, not talking about religion. I mean, we can talk about our own personal religious views. We're not very religious. We're not Christian. But I love Christmas season or Yule or just winter solstice, whatever you want to call it, when the lights are out.
Holidays.
Yes,
and
all of them. All of them.
festivities.
I will come celebrate every single winter holiday with you because I just love that vibe.
Yeah. I mean, I feel it. I used to celebrate Hanukkah with my Jewish friends, and then they would celebrate Christmas with us.
Let's
Like,
fucking do it. I will celebrate every single one of them.
Yeah. We would just go to each other's houses and be like, all right, I'll be part of your family and we'll do Hanukkah today. And then you can come to my house and we'll do Christmas tomorrow. And then
Like, I just love that time. But when it comes to like weather and actually like when do I want to be outside the most? It's fall.
yeah, when do I
Easily.
actually enjoy outside, enjoy weather, enjoy nature? Fall.
Like, dude, I went on that motorcycle ride yesterday to get breakfast and oh my gosh, it was just so nice. There was leaves everywhere. The breeze was cool.
I love that like crisp fall air in the mornings when there's like a little bit of ground fog and there's colors in the leaves and like the sun is just a little bit softer than normal, but you still get sunlight.
Yes,
and
yes.
and it's just like the whole world smells a little bit cooler. And it's like, ooh, I know that there's apples nearby somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, you just...
It's right.
Fall is...
Well, that moves us on to free talk then. I don't have too much to add since Mothman, to be honest. We've just been finishing up a lot of our wedding season, at least on my end. Getting ready for Chardon, Cryptid Cons, and Curios. By the time this comes out, it will be tomorrow, Saturday, because this is going to come out Friday, October 10th. It is Saturday, October 11th from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Please stop by.
In Chardon Square, Chardon, Ohio.
Yes. It's going to be a great time. There'll be lots of vendors, lots of good cryptid fun. There's going to be food trucks. We're going to be there. Just come by. I mean, why not?
There'll be speakers. I think they're having some live music or like scavenger hunt or
something.
painting.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of
good
stuff going on. Yeah.
So we'll be there. And other than that, we got some stuff moving in the background, but not anywhere near where we can talk about. So we're just going to leave it there. I guess we should talk about that. This is our last official mystery of season 1. The next episode is going to be a season debrief, which since it's our first one, you guys don't know what that is, and that's fine. You'll figure it out when it comes out. But this is the last big mystery. So thank you guys so much for listening and allowing us to sit on this couch and talk about mysteries for, again, upwards of 25 hours. That's kind of crazy.
If you have been here the whole season, thank you so much for listening to all our episodes, sticking around this whole time. We appreciate it so much. Like, we really are just so thankful for you being here. And also, I just hope you like it. I hope that you keep coming back and listening because you genuinely find this interesting, entertaining, informational. I really hope that you guys get at least half of what we get out of it because we love doing this and we love seeing those viewers. We love seeing the likes and the numbers go up, seeing the shares every time we make a post. It really does mean the world. And to have a full season pretty much out and done, it feels really good.
Yeah.
We did the thing.
Even if we stopped here, I mean, we did 20 episodes. That's so much more than many other people can say like that. I'm proud of that alone. And we're not stopping here.
No, we are
That's
not.
where I'm leading into this next part.
Season 2 is coming your way, baby.
Season 2 is coming. We're not going to tell the theme yet, but it will have another theme just like this one is surrounded into the woods.
It's a secret.
We're going somewhere else or doing something else.
It's a secret.
Still mysterious. Still is going to concern cryptids, conspiracies, ghosts, whatever the hell. Like it's the same vibe.
But no longer will we be interrogating the woods.
Yes.
We will shift gears and find something else to unravel.
Yes,
for
I like
a little while.
That was good.
Thank you.
So, I mean, I guess other than that, thank you guys so much for joining us, and be sure to come back every other week for a brand new mystery and a brand new episode.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's mystery, our little hometown lore. And don't forget, you can email us love letters, podcast idea episodes. If you are sending an episode idea, please put that in the subject line so we can find it. Our email is mysterydatepodcast@gmail.com.
And also, we want to hear some spooky stories or real-life mysteries that you've experienced. I mean, I think that's just a really cool thing that we could do as a show, is let you guys voice some of the spooky things in your life. So go on over to our website at mysterydatepodcast.com and you can leave us a voice message that we'll listen to on the show in future episodes.
Maybe add a new segment to the end before Date Night Debrief where we talk about your small encounters and we dissect those a little bit.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. And be sure to share this podcast with your friends or even your enemies. Like we say every time, every like, every subscribe, every follow helps us immensely. And we can't thank you guys enough for doing it. So share it with everyone you know. I'll say it 1,000 times because I mean it. No.
Yes, and while you're at it, follow us on social media too, at Mystery Date Podcast everywhere.
Yep, so that's all. So be safe and have a great rest of your day or night.
And remember,
every good mystery deserves a date. Bye.